know, sometimes those 2 a.m. non-working, sometimes it feels good though when you're
I tell her, I'm like, don't text me after midnight. That's when I'm like,
I know. I work for a UK website and they're always like, what are you doing up? I'm like, oh, this is my creative time.
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to On the Grid. My name is EJ Moreno and for this show we look at people who make our Tampa Bay community better. We have two amazing guests today who are really putting in the work in our area. We have Naya Young and Fatima Elkott for Conscious Community Connectors. Trust me, I have been working on that CCC all day, but I have to say thank you guys for coming in today and thank you for the work you do. Tell me first and foremost, what is CCC all about? What would you describe kind of your overall mission statement, your vibe of your organization?
So CCC, Conscious Community Connectors, it is exactly what the name is. You know, Conscious Community Connectors. We in ourselves, in our daily lives, we are connectors. You know, connecting community, residents, creatives, artists, anyone to resources and things. You know, just everyday things that people need.
Mm-hmm.
We're people oriented, and we just love being out in the community and connecting people.
Yeah, I feel like being defined as connectors was something that then you started finding connectors. Like, oh, okay, you're a connector as well. And I think the conscious part of it is that we need conscious change, and that when someone achieves consciousness, they're like, okay, I'm aware of myself, I'm aware of my neighbors, I'm aware of my community, how to be plugged in. Because we found, like, in urban planning and nonprofits, people want to be involved with things. They care about their neighborhoods, they care about these processes, but they don't know
where to
start.
Who.
Exactly.
That's when I first saw your organization, when I was like, what exactly is our goal here? And then doing more research, I love that you guys are kind of this middle ground for a lot of times the community and the government as well, working with the city of Tampa and things like that. We don't have those liaisons often.
Exactly.
And I think you guys do that serve that well, that middle ground. I know you both are co-founders. We'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about what got you here. We hear a little bit of urban planning. We hear about nonprofit. Fatima, what did you kind of do at first to lead you to this?
Well, I am the oldest daughter of a first-generation family, so I the oldest was going to USF to get start my medical school. So I was in biology, I did orgo, I did all the things, and then about my junior year, I got to take an elective in ecology and anthropology, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, I loved learning about systems, about how ecology and how humans interact, and I was just like, I'm gonna change my degree to environment.
You saw nursing scrubs and said, I don't want to wear that for
Well, also when I was shadowing to doctors, they were like, a lot of it is not helping people. It's a lot of bureaucracy. It's a lot of, prescriptions and things that I didn't necessarily agree with. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take this risk and I'm going to change my major. So I changed to be environmental biology and anthropology double major. And I graduated and the world was like, that's cute. Like,
cool, now do something.
Yeah, there's no jobs. I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of went through my post undergrad crisis, what do I do? And I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. So I went on LinkedIn. I was just like, anybody that had anything to do with sustainability connections, I just started, hey, what is out there? I'm curious about this intersection between people and their environment. What exists? And found out that urban planning existed. I had no idea it was a thing. And then I went to get my master's degree in it. And in that, I met Naya. Over the summer, we co-started a youth program called Flip Junior, which was Future Leaders in Planning. And we started working with the kids, and we just started working in the trenches together. And I got to see a little bit more about the nonprofit world, which is your background.
I love how you saw red tape and said, but what if I work on getting rid of red tape? Which is exactly.
And red tape was like, no.
Yeah, red tape's like, but what about more red tape? So we learned her superhero origin story. What about you? How did we kind of get to your position now?
Well, so I come from a family of community-oriented, people-oriented. We call ourselves a service family. So I've been doing community work since before I even knew that I was doing community work. I would come and visit my grandmother in the summers, and she would have me, we're going to pass out mailers, or I'm, at the sign-in table for the community meeting, talking about green spaces, and I'm just there. I learned how to do an invoice when I was 9 years old, right? So I've always just done community work. So I went to school initially for communication, culture and media communication, and I'm like one of those people, I'm gonna try and test out all these different things. I started it in nursing as well, and I was like, I want to help people, but maybe not in this capacity.
Yeah, bedpans, maybe not my
yeah,
nursing,
you
but
know,
like,
after I had to have a real honest conversation with my professor, and I'm like, I don't think nursing is for me. So I went into communication, and then I went to get my master's in political science when I was in DC, and I also worked in nonprofit there too. So nonprofit community has just always been a part of me, and I always knew that I wanted to help people, but I never knew, like, what does that look like? You think help people and it's like medical, but you can help people in so many different ways. And I like that, with nonprofit, I started a nonprofit. I was executive director for six and a half, almost 7 years.
Wow.
That's how Fatima and I met. And then I just I'm like, okay, I've done this for some time. How else can I connect with people? How else can I help people? And then that's when we, started talking about CCC.
Well, first off, segue to my next conversation is, how did we get CCC started? How did you all decide, okay, we both have these very different but similar backgrounds, which is amazing that you guys really did feel like a connective force. You brought this in and you brought this in together. Tell me about the early days of CCC, it starting, any red tape that we had to run into, and I'm sure there's so much more with that too.
There is. I think, honestly, nonprofits was one solution, and then we realized when you're in a nonprofit, you're just so heavy in the work. Like, you're constantly responding to emergency things. So-and-so's parent didn't pick them up, we gotta go take them over here, they don't have food, they don't have this. Like, it was so in that state that we weren't able to actually look at things from a systems level, which everything was interconnected. So you take one family, and there's so many different systems affecting the challenges that they're going through. So even though we're doing a youth program, once they're gone at 5:36, we have no control over everything that they're going to, back to. And sometimes it's we could talk about that for hours, all the different challenges that social workers and everybody has to do, and we wear all these hats. We're therapists, we're cook, we're janitor, we're this, we're that, and
Sounds very nonprofit.
So it was kind of this rat race, and we were just exploring, like, what would it look like in the private world? Can you be a little bit more nimble if you call yourself a consultant? And I won't get into it too much, but when I was working for another collaborative, we're doing all this work. It was a Latino-based organization. We were doing Latino engagement, and we were doing great. They paid this white man consultant to come in from another city to tell a group of Latinos how to do engagement just because he had the thing consultant next to his name. So I was like, okay, so there's something going on here. And I was like, if it's just $175 to get an LLC for you guys to take us seriously and our lived experience seriously, then that's what we'll do. And we have expertise that when we started looking at the market, nobody's in that in-between spaces, bridging those gaps. And it is such a need, like, everybody's struggling. So why can't we take the private money and then do the nonprofit work, pretty much. So it's kind of a way for us to be a little bit more nimble around that red tape. In government, you can't do it when you're within staff. I worked in government when I was in graduate school, and it was just not possible. I thought I could, and everyone's like, no, that's cute. I was like, oh, okay. And then in nonprofits, it was just that emergency. So we're now trying this private world thing, and we have found, I feel like we've been a little bit able to kind of do those connections, right?
Okay, Naya, tell me about some of the struggles you're saying, though. Being a connector is a big word. It can mean a lot, but also I know there's some struggles going on just in the day-to-day. And tell me about a little bit of the stuff that you're facing. Maybe not, calling out specific government officials, but hey, who's the person that we need to wave the finger at? What are some of the struggles that you're seeing right now?
What I find, I think both of us really, is people. I think there's this notion that, community is very, hesitant to be involved. Like, no, we don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want this. Community really wants to be involved in a lot of things. And again, it's how, like, there's so many different, you call this person, this website takes you here, and this, you go here, but if you want to go here, these meetings are these days. And, the average person that wants to keep up, it can be a lot, right? So sometimes that pushback is because it's like, because you all don't want us to be a part of the process, right? But they really want to be a part of the process, and have so much insight, right? Of course, everyone uses different terms to, say mobility or ADUs or we need these and they say, oh, we just need this, this, and this, and it's like, oh, so you're talking about this, and this, right? Yep. So it's just, the language may be different, but community really wants to be involved in these processes. So really, bringing people out to the meetings, and one, because there's been so many years of people feeling like they're not involved in it, and so there's this, this hesitancy to really get into the process. Like, am I really being heard, right? So it's like, no, come. Like, we want you to be here. We're telling you to come, and then on our end, because we're in this space now, we can go to those, officials or to the people that make the decisions. Say, hey, these community members are here. Get your butt out here and come talk to these people and tell them what they need to hear, whether they like it or not. But they're here. So we're bringing, people out that don't necessarily want to, and some that, they're a little bit reluctant. But having the people in the space, it really works, and it helps to bring those relationships, right? So
yeah, I think that's perfectly said. And I think the language thing is a big thing. Like, planners love to say ADU or TDR or like all these acronyms that people don't understand, and it excludes them in so many different ways. So I think like breaking it down, that's why I really loved when we were doing the youth program, because if you can explain economic development and community benefits agreements and like these like complicated things to an 8-year-old, you can make it work. And these kids were coming back with plans that the professional planners were like, oh wow, we had not thought about that. We hadn't thought about this new way to do stormwater management. We hadn't thought about this new way of doing mobility plans, So it does, when you get everybody in the same room, you see it flourish. But I do think on both ends, sometimes it's also hard to convince people to do things outside of the norm. I love my public officials and I love my city and my county, but they love to do their public workshops and invite people to their party. But no, you have to go to where people are. Today I was at a food distribution at a church, asking people what they want to see in the future of Sulphur Springs. That's what you have to do. And yes, have your public workshop, but you have to have a staggered, way to reach people. Invite your artists, invite your creators, invite people to talk different languages so that it's reaching different people, not literally just Spanish or English, but different ways to communicate these things.
And they have the lived experience too.
Exactly.
They are the ones that walk down the street. They are the ones that catch the bus or go to the grocery stores or patronize these businesses. So the answers that you need literally lie in the community, and they have all of the answers, right? So it's been really interesting, especially we're youth background, so getting to talk with the kids, and it's so funny because it's so easy for them. You ask them a question and they're like, oh, all you need is put this here, put this there. This will be automatic when the people come. There's a light, boom, and then boom, and then all the planners are like, wow, that's a really great idea, and I'm like, so it's been nice.
No, and I first off love that I started this question of what's the negative, and you were like, but what's the positive? Very nonprofit community of you, very nice of you. I think that's a really important thing. I think again I'm a really big fan of the show of we can't be it if we don't see it. So people are seeing it, and now we are like, oh, it's able to do it. Some people don't know that they have a place within the community that can then connect it. Then you're probably going to introduce somebody to like, we're going to start the next community activist because they didn't know that they could. And I think that is a great ability. So I want to, before we get into a little bit more stuff, I want you guys to take a moment and think about this. So, what is a moment in y'all's line of work that's something you guys do with CCC that you are proud of? I know a lot of the times we don't really get to sit and pat ourselves on the back, and I want you guys to take a moment to sit and pat yourselves on the back. We need to do this. So tell me about something that you guys have done maybe in the last year or anything, just that you guys are really proud of seeing come to fruition, because we hear all the good stories, and I want you guys to do that and also take a moment to be like, we're kind of awesome.
Recently, our event that we had with Smart Growth America, we had our final, we had a final event where it was a mix between, we had storytelling and a community. We had, Kuumba African dancing drummers, and there was a woman that came up to me, older lady, and she was, literally in tears. And she was like, I've never felt so welcome in a space, right? And when you're in like the rigmarole of putting everything together and seeing everything, and you take a moment to look out and you see generations of people, you see so many different colors, different sizes, and young and old, and all these different people in this one space, and everyone was literally just having the best time. And this woman coming up to me, and she was like, there's a lot of tragedy that happened in her life. And she was like, I just saw this event and just decided to come. She's like, and I'm leaving, more filled than when I came in. And that for us, like, we do all the other things, but the community part, the soul part of it, the heart part of it is really like this, that's where it's like, okay, this is good. You get those little affirmations every now and then. It's like, okay, we're in the right space. This is good.
Your face lit up telling that story.
Yeah.
I just love hearing that. And again, that's exactly what we want to hear, because again, that's someone who doesn't feel connected often. I remember, first time entering like queer spaces and being like, oh wait, hold on. There's more people like me. There's more weirdos, and then you feel so welcome, and that's everything. I mean, I just took my son to this New World Readings. It was at the Raymond James Stadium. This is a big event about reading, and they sent us a bunch of books. He was just like, all right, so there's a bunch of kids who like these same kind of books, and I'm like, yes, like, and it's just, I love that feeling. I love that story of like getting to a place and going, and that kind of that weight off your shoulders of being like, oh, I could just relax. This just feels normal. I love that. So is that a similar story for you of just?
Yeah, I think our events overall have done that. Like I was going to share about Tampa Connect Fashion Week, and that was really cool because it was a bunch of creatives coming together. We started doing like these pop-up events with them, and it's all like young BIPOC artists from Tampa that have never seen themselves really reflected in the art, industry in our city. And we started talking. They were like, "We want to throw a fashion week." I was like, "What do you mean you want to throw a fashion week? Like, we want to do a fashion week by us, for us. Our fashions, like our people that like us as models, first time designers, first time everything, like let's do it." And so when we started, trying to pitch to people, they were like, "You guys are literally a bunch of kids. Like, what are you doing? Like, we're not going to give you, $3,000 to throw this together." And we were like, okay. And we ragtagged it. We brought it in. It was one of the most successful events we've had. We had over 50 volunteers over the 3-day weekend of like, and volunteers are like, I'm going to go pick up a chair, and someone's like, no, let me go pick it up for you. And nobody was getting paid. It was just like hundreds of young people from Tampa, from St. Pete coming together to make something happen. And like that was one of those moments where we got to sit back and just watch everybody buzz and have like everything that we've built just take on its own life. And I think that's ultimately the point. Like I think that's why we like that connector realm, because once you build that connection, people build off from that and they take it to wherever you want to take it. It's not my vision, it's not your vision. You got together with Fulano and this person, go make it happen. So I think that, and then just the other story I wanted to share is with the young people, getting them to conferences. So like we were able to do the first ever youth panel for the American Planning Association for the state chapter. So it was a full kid panel.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, all elementary
First
age.
ever.
Yeah, they all went in. They presented to a group of like over 100 professional planners from all over the state, and they gave them, like Naya said, these really like, they were like, okay, using their lived experiences to talk about it. Like a lot of them had to walk to and from school, and they were like, I don't feel safe. What if we had this contraption? And if you read in between the lines, like things that you're saying are really valid, and their lived experience corroborated a lot of the data that the planners had been like taking about their communities. So I thought that's I always every time I think about it,
that was really cool. And there were even, some planners that were there, like, wow, I wish that I knew about, because some, they didn't get into planning until they were in their 20s or in college. Like, I wish I knew about this when I was 10, 11 years old. So that was really cool. I mean, they were crying. I was like, oh, it was really, really nice. Yeah. It was really nice. And I have to say, I have to put in this plug, but Tampa Connect Fashion Week, you definitely get this sense of like, when people who didn't believe in you, and then they come back around and they're like, oh, this was really nice. I'm like, oh yeah, we know.
That is the I told you so, but not in a mean way.
Not in a mean way.
But let me prove you wrong. I love that feeling.
And the creatives took that. They were like, that's right, we are them kids.
That's
like,
exactly what artists need.
Exactly.
As artists, sometimes we need to know, because that only motivates us. That only pushes us so much further. I love hearing that. Again, now I'm like trying to get my son off Roblox. I'm like, hey, build that, what you just built there, let's build that in. Let's go build, something outside.
And that's what we do. We use Minecraft, Roblox, all of that.
Oh my goodness, I love that. We'll get off Dress to Impress now. Me playing my fashion game with him. No, I love that. I love the passion of what you guys have and what you guys do. This isn't easy. I can only imagine the tiresome days, all of that. But is there something that's still kind of pushing you? Is there a goal that you guys have? It's just kind of what's I don't want to say the mission statement, we talked about that earlier, but what is something like a long-term goal, that 5-year plan that you guys have brewing up? Is there something that you're like, this is our big mission? Maybe not, spoiler if you're trying to work on something big, but.
I mean, I think ultimately it is that connection. I think thinking small, I would love to see, like you said, Floridians, Tampanians, Tampeños, however you want to call us, we're rare. Like we have a lot of implants, in our city. So I think it's to see ourselves reflected, to have a kind of ownership of our community, and to include everybody. Yeah. I think that, yes, is it a big goal for sure, but I think it's a micro macro situation. Like I think if we can make it work here, it does reflect back up to the whole world. Like it's a big, big, big dream. victory, but I think we could, if we continue to foster connection with ourselves, with each other, with our neighborhoods, with our communities, I do think it's a small piece to solve a lot of really, really big issues, you know?
I would agree. It's, for me, it's really just seeing, you know, community take pride. You know, they take pride in, you know, even the smallest things, but just, you know, finally coming out of their shell and, you know, wanting to be a part of the process and feeling like they're, you know, being heard. For me, that just gets, it's like, okay, this, again, it's like those moments where it's like, okay, this is good, right? You know, seeing the kids, you know, who are, you know, now, you know, wanting to go into planning, or,
you're
you know,
making
they're
new U's,
right,
basically.
exactly, right? So that for me is like just to continue to see people grow, and wanting to be involved in the process, and to, you know, bringing others with them to be, to, you know, to be involved. So that for me,
No, I have such a passion for what you guys were talking about. Like in the film community, we're always trying to get people to film in Tampa. They're building, like, one story, they did a Ben Affleck movie where they built a fake Ybor City in Atlanta. And I'm like, so what about just filming in the actual Ybor? And again, as like a Tampa Cuban, like I'm very passionate about how awesome Tampa is. And I love that, like, we're starting to, I do think we're building up more and more.
We are.
I'll watch TV shows and they're like, oh, my family member who lives in Tampa. And I'm like, oh, wait, so now we're like on the map. And it's just good to see. And again, it's like people like you all that are really helping us put on the map. It's grinding it to the lower level of getting just that one person, like I said, is building new U's. So what projects do we have coming up this year? We talked a little bit about Sulphur Springs. We have a survey. Can you guys tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have the Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Action Plan. So the city of Tampa is asking residents what it is that they want them to invest in and programs that they want to see, which is a really cool opportunity. So we're wrapping up phase 1 on that. The survey ends on
Government
Monday.
asking us what we want.
Exactly.
Now, will they listen? Who knows? But asking is a step.
It's a big step. And that's why it's an action plan. So like they really want it to be rooted in what's possible. We've been working within the city. We've been working with city partners. Like a lot of it has been like who's already doing the work and connecting them to talk to each other, connecting the departments within the city, connecting the nonprofits to each other, connecting all these branches so that when we walk away at the end of the year, it is going to be an actionable plan and it will be approved by the city council, and so then it will be part of their CIP, it'll be part of their plans. They'll have like responsible, you know, authorities who's responsible for this, what's the timeline, and the community's gonna be able to be like, okay, this sidewalk, you know, was supposed to be fixed by this date, hey, who's like what's going on, you know, and that accountability process, so that when we're done with this process, it doesn't end, it's not another plan on the shelf. It can be taken and used.
I love that you guys are building plans that will be, once you guys leave, because the problem is like sometimes, you know, we leave an area and then it just stops. I love that you guys are trying to build a deep-rooted, you know, connection with the community. Then again, once you leave, it's still going on. Those people are still, where's my sidewalk?
Exactly.
Where's my stop sign that I need this four-way stop right here?
Exactly.
People don't realize I have a little one. Well, I need more four-way stops.
Exactly.
You know,
and now you have a paper document. This country is paper, so you can say, you know.
And that's part of our job, is to be sure, one, like, you know, make sure that community is involved in the process, but also that they know, like, at each phase, this is what's happening. And once it's done, this is how you do this. This is who you talk to about this. This is how you go to the meeting. This is how you prep. So there's a little bit of non-billable hours in there, but it's the important part, to make sure that everybody's a part of the process and understands.
I don't know, sometimes those 2 a.m. non-working, sometimes it feels good though when you're
I tell her, I'm like, don't text me after midnight. That's when I'm like,
I know. I work for a UK website and they're always like, what are you doing up? I'm like, oh, this is my creative time.
Yeah,
3 in the morning, it's morning over there? I
can't make a mistake. I'll, like, something will be on my brain and I'll text her real quick because I don't want to forget, and then I'm like, uh-oh. Then she's like, well, actually, and I'm like, oh no.
She was just waiting.
Opened Pandora's box.
I was already on the computer.
Oh, did you text me a plan? Let me tell you what I was going to. This was for 7 in the morning. Now it's actually 3 in the morning conversation.
Sure. I was thinking about this earlier today, but we were doing this.
But again, that's just kind of that passion that you all have. This isn't a 9-to-5 kind of job. This is lifelong. And again, it seems like something you've both felt since you were young. This is just weird to have this kind of motivation. Again, I'm always amazed by people who are community driven. I just don't think anyone told me that as a kid. You know, no one, and that's what I love that you guys were talking about youth. You know, I say as a film kid, no one told me, like a little gay Cuban kid, that I can be a film critic. And then one day I found it and I could do it. So I love that you guys are telling, you can plan, you guys can be here. Again, seeing people do it motivates us so much. So any other projects going on this year? What are we cooking up for the summer?
I know we're cooking up some creative projects, so we're working on those. So keep an eye out for the Tampa Heights Junior Civic Association. They have a beautiful historic venue, so we really just want to highlight. We want to highlight the landmarks in Tampa, the creatives in Tampa, the communities in Tampa. So that's something that we're cooking up little by little. It's coming together.
And we're working with you guys.
Oh yeah, you
I was like, let's go to the Tampa Theater and do something. Oh, come on,
Yes.
yes, I love this.
And we're also working with a group called Brown Care Collective. They're a BIPOC wellness group of amazing women. So we're going to be working with them. They started in St. Pete, but they're going to come over into Tampa and do like a wellness conference. So we're working with them. That's like our heart work that we're doing.
I love that because I also saw the 813 Hood Garden, which I love seeing gardens in areas that don't normally have it because again, we live in so many food deserts that there is there isn't. I mean, the fact that we have like a Sprouts here in the university area, I'm like, you guys don't realize that is a big deal. Most inner city places don't get that. So again, I love what you all are doing. Where can we find you? What is, is there an office building we can come knock on a door? Is it an emailing you kind of situation?
You can find us in the streets.
Yeah, you're like, no, there's no office. I'm grinding somewhere.
Yeah, we're in the streets. You can find us at the community gardens. You can find us at 813 Hood Garden. You can find us at Tampa Heights Junior Civic Association. You can find us anywhere on social media.
So follow you on social media.
Yes, probably will. You'll know where we're going to be.
That's amazing. I absolutely, again, I love hearing this, just this whole vibe, this energy you all have, because as a millennial, I just love hearing people in our age group just like kind of kick some butt, just kind of do what they want to do. And I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to promote before we go, or anything you want to say to our viewers? Maybe a good message of like, hey, you guys can do this. Like,
I think stop being scared of people. People are here. You can just go talk to somebody, even if it's just the grocery clerk that you're, checking out with. Like, I think we can connect with each other, and it's not so hard. Like, just open yourself up, and most of the time, like we call it rejection therapy. Like, going out and doing canvassing and like fortifying yourself. But I found it's really acceptance therapy. Like when you go out, a lot of people are wanting to connect. They want to talk to you. They want to feel heard. They want to have a sense of belonging. So just do it. I think if we all did it a little bit, the world would be a much better place. That's the message I want to leave. That's what gets me over.
I mean, I could just wrap up the show right now. Goodbye. Have a great day. That's perfect. Thank you all so much for joining me. I think CCC is gonna keep getting bigger and bolder and come up with more fun ideas. And also, when you guys are doing a fashion show, you have my email now. I will judge fashion. I'm not good at anything else, but I will sit there and go. No, thank you guys all so much for joining me. Naya, Fatima, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And my name is EJ Moreno with On the Grid. Thank you all so much for joining us. As we talked about, this is a show about making our Tampa Bay area better. We met two guests today that do it. Thank you all for joining us, and tune in to the next episode.